Hello and welcome to Creator Weekly for September 7th, 2025. I'm Peggy Kay, and this week there's a bunch of updates if you have an iPhone or iPad that are very cool. Also, updates for YouTube, Discord, Twitch, photos, threads, and a bunch more. Thank you for joining me today. I'd love to hear what you think about this week's updates. Say hello in the chat. All right, let's get started. And whoops. So the first update I want to talk about is for YouTube communities. YouTube communities are something that creators can set up for their channel. It's on mobile, and the idea is you have a community tab and people can post just like any other community. YouTube has added the ability to easily share your community with a direct link. So all you need to do is visit the community. So you go to the channel, you click the button to open the community, tap the three-dot menu icon at top right, and select share. And that will let you either get a link or share to a different app if you want. You can also share individual community posts. So if someone posts in the community, you click the share icon underneath and you can share that post to another app, or you can get the link or repost it on YouTube from your own channel. So these are nice ways to promote your community and maybe give the posts and the community a little bit more exposure. All right, moving on. This is the first update for iPhone users. The YouTube Create mobile app is now available to iPhone users in Canada. Now, this is YouTube's video editing app for mobile. It's already available for Android devices in 21 countries. And last week they added templates. It does have AI tools, at least in some countries. It's just a nice app for editing. You can export, there's no watermark or anything. So if you are in Canada and have an iPhone, give this a look. It should expand to more countries eventually. And it's good to see that YouTube is investing in this, to giving it a little bit more development. Also on YouTube, they launched gift effects. So just to recap, gifts are when fans purchase jewels with real money. They can use the jewels to purchase gifts to give to vertical live streamers. This is in the US only right now. They've just launched gift effects. These are interactive options: cat ears, good job, flower crown, celebrate, and royal clown. If you want to give these gifts, they're labeled with a purple sparkle. They cost more jewels than the other gifts do. When you buy one of these gifts and give it to the vertical live streamer, they get rubies, and that's a way to monetize. So when you buy these fancy gifts, they appear on the screen for up to 15 seconds. So they'll be there for a while. And then this is an update that made me smile. YouTube has a new partnership with Sesame Workshop. So these are the creators of Sesame Street. And first off, YouTube is going to have a catalog of hundreds of full episodes of Sesame Street everyone can watch for free. Important because they're losing funding, because there's government funding has been shut off for a lot of this. New episodes, I think, are on Netflix, but YouTube will have a whole library of episodes and exclusive content. But I think what's really neat is that Sesame Workshop is going to draw upon their 50 more than 50 years of developing what they call research-driven, curriculum-backed children's media. They're going to lead some workshops for YouTube creators for developing entertaining content that also promotes learning, which I think is fantastic. And then, just to round off the YouTube updates, they have a new culture and trends report. This is focused on Gen Z. So this is teens and 20-somethings. Supposedly what Gen Z is all about is creative maximalism. What the heck is that? This is visual and audio complexity. So, lots of stuff going on, hyper-paced editing, massive scale, narrative co-creation. This is stuff like remixing, fan art, collaborative world building. Of course, inside jokes, references, and memes from niche online communities and global influences. So this is what you need to know if you want to make content that the kids love. I have to say that reading this report, it felt a little cringy. It's obviously a report aimed at middle-aged, I don't know, ad executives or something, like, here's what the kids today like. And I'm middle-aged, I can say that, but it felt a little cringy. I want to say welcome to everybody in the chat. I asked what people's favorite update was this week. Andrew says, so many updates. Yes, there was a lot of updates this week. And Julian says, oh, your very first job was at Children's Television Workshop in 1970. That must have been really exciting. That's a really cool place. And Julian also said that her favorite update is Nano Banana. That's the Gemini image editing app, and Androidify. If you want a link to Androidify, it's in this week's newsletter and blog post. Androidify basically turns you into a little Android robot, and it will animate it with video. It's very, very cute. And it used to be just two-dimensional. Now it's three-dimensional. So let's move on. I'm going to give a couple updates about Twitch. The first update is that Twitch has a new article listing the way that they will send official messages to people. So this is like a notification, there's a problem with your account or something like that. They said it will only come from Twitch.tv, Justin.tv, or Amazon.com email domains. There may also be banners inside your account or on Twitch itself. And I recommend looking at this article because it also has examples of the emails that they send. Because one thing that hijackers do is that they send emails that look almost, but not quite like official emails. They want people to click the links and install malware and steal your account. So check this out if you use Twitch. The other thing that's happening is that Twitch is experimenting with new comment moderation settings. What they've done is add a slider bar. So there's different sections on your dashboard. If you're going into the moderation settings, chatter permissions, auto mod, and message filtering and channel protection. And the idea is you just use the slider for like how strong you want those moderation to be. If you want to be more specific for individual items, you can go into the advanced settings and change it there. But this is just to make it easier. So The other thing I wanted to mention is that back in July, Google Photos announced that they would be adding a Create tab. This is going to be a hub for all the creative tools inside Google Photos, including the generative AI tools. This is finally rolling out in the US only right now. It has photo to video, remix a photo into a new style, create a collage, create a highlight video. You can do like a search for a person or event in Google Photos and create a highlight video, create cinematic photos or an animated GIF from multiple photos. So if you're in the US and you use Google Photos, be sure to check this out. And I wanted to just mention something that I thought was interesting. So Google's video model, VO3, it does photo to video. So you start with your own photo and then it animates it. And what I thought is interesting is that different Google products actually have different options. So in Google Photos, if you have a photo and you're doing photo to video, your only options are subtle movement or I'm feeling lucky. So you can't even specify what kind of animation it does. It just picks something. If you're in the YouTube Shorts editor, it actually gives you a list of options based on the photo itself. So for example, if it's a photo of a person, you might see the option to have that person K-pop dancing. Or if it's a photo of a marina with boats, you might have an option, show the boats bobbing on the water, that sort of thing. So they are tailored to the actual image. You still can't just type in anything. But then if you go to Google Vids and you have access to the generative AI tools there, in Google Vids, you can write a whole prompt about what you want happening in this image when it's converted to video. So I just thought that was interesting. Google obviously has the tools to make complex prompts, but I think it has to do with trust and safety, what people might do. So I don't know where I'm going with this exactly. I just thought it was interesting. And I think we may see more options over time. Now, I want to move on to Adobe, and this is one of the big updates this week. Adobe announced that there is a new Premiere app for the iPhone. So Adobe Premiere is their Premiere video editing software, and having a mobile version is a big deal. They had software called Adobe Rush. I'm sorry, Adobe. So they had Premiere Rush. Now this is a mobile app for video editing that was much simplified. It didn't have really advanced video editing tools. They are discontinuing Premiere Rush. You can keep using it for the next year or so, but you won't be able to install it on any of your devices. So what we have is this brand new Premiere app. You can do things like trim your videos to a specific frame. You can have unlimited layers, automatic captions. You can record voiceovers. You can use Firefly, their generative AI tools for making images, clips, sound effects. You have access to Adobe stock images. It supports 4K HDR. And there's one tap export to YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. So this is a really big deal. It's supposed to be free, and Adobe will be making money by selling people cloud storage. I mean, if you're editing 4K video, you probably need cloud storage. And they'll be selling generative AI credits. So you get some limited number of uses of Firefly. This is true on the web as well, unless you pay for more. So the question is, when is it coming to Android? They haven't said. They said they are working on it though. So it's on their roadmap to have an Android version, especially since Premiere Rush is being disabled. So if you have an iPhone, you might want to sign up for this. I think it will be ready for download within the next month or few weeks. So this is a big deal. Over on Discord, if you use Discord, you should see their recent policy updates. These are going into effect soon. It seems to me like they aren't that different. There's age verification for UK users to access age-restricted content. They say how user data is going to be used. They make a point of saying that user data will not be used to train AI models. Says how it will be used for advertisers. But the big thing I thought that was a really nice update is that Discord has also added policy explainers to the community guidelines. So you go to the community guidelines, you see a particular guideline, click that, and then there's a whole page with more information, including examples of what is and is not allowed. And this is really useful to understand the policies. If you use Discord a lot, you should definitely check this out. And then one of the other big updates I had for this week is that Instagram finally has an iPad app. This is an app that's designed for larger tablet screens. Instagram says people have been asking for this for a while. If they mean years, that's probably the way it's been. That's probably an understatement. This is going to be available for iPad OS 15.1 and higher. So in addition to it being designed for a bigger screen, there's also a following tab where you can easily switch between a feed of all posts, just posts from your friends, or latest posts, which is a chronological feed. So it seems really nice. And the design changes will soon be coming to Android tablets as well. I use an Android tablet, and I can say that the Instagram app there is pretty terrible. It's not designed at all for wider screens. You kind of have to rotate it around. I'm looking forward to this because I do use Instagram. I don't know. I mean, is there some sort of reason why there's all these updates this week for new versions of apps? I'm not sure. Something in the fall air, but it's good. This is good for users. So I'm going to move on now to Threads. Threads is Meta's Twitter alternative. One of those things, they have hundreds of millions of users. It hasn't really broken into the popular consciousness yet, the way Blue Sky has. Anyway, so what Threads announced is that you can add a text attachment with up to 10,000 characters of text. This is basically like a blog post or article attached. It's very similar to what Twitter X has. And so the idea is you can use this to share a preview of content from your blog or newsletter or podcast or book. It also will include one link if you want to include that. But I will say there's a huge caveat to using this, because when you attach this text, it is currently not indexed by search engines. It is not included if the post is embedded on another site, and it is not shared to the Fediverse. So it's very much limited to Threads itself, and it won't give you a broader audience than that. So yeah, I'm not so sure how useful this is. I probably won't ever use it at all, but Good for people who are very wordy. They also say they are improving threads, the actual threads on threads where there'll be a label that kind of floats that shows how many posts you are into your thread. So if it's, post 3 of 7, you know that. And it's going to display better on people's profiles. So if people go to your profile, they'll see the first and second post of a thread and then an indicator of how many more posts there are. And it will display better when people tap into a thread. You can see the original poster's replies instead of it just being a jumble. So this is good. Threading is better. They really want to improve things for people who write more. Is this good for threads? I don't know. So I'm on threads. I'm not that excited about threads. 2 updates for LinkedIn this week. The first one is a really quick update. They have a new integration with CapCut. CapCut is the video editing platform from ByteDance. It's associated with TikTok. It's sort of the gold standard. And there's a web version of CapCut and a mobile version. And now with this integration, you can upload your video directly from CapCut to LinkedIn. Just makes life a little bit easier there. The other update that's really interesting is what I've got in the slide here. The thing that LinkedIn really wants to be about real conversations. The problem with that is that there's a lot of fake stuff on LinkedIn. So what they say is that they are making changes to keep engagement real, and they are working to make engagement pods ineffective. So these are groups that like, comment, and share to boost each other's content, but it's artificial, right? They're also reducing the number of low-quality posts, including clickbait, promotional content, and automated contents. So those are all low-quality, spammy things, artificially promoted posts that mean there's not great stuff that you see in your feed. Will they be successful? That's the big question. This is a problem every platform has. If there's a way for users to boost engagement, they're going to use it, even in a spammy way. So if you're on LinkedIn, maybe you'll see some improvements. So those are this week's big updates. There's a bunch more this week. Do see this week's newsletter and subscribe to get updates in your inbox every Saturday. So I'm going to move on just a little bit here to what was happening 10 years ago. This is a series I do because I'm celebrating 10 years of Creator Weekly. So we'll look back to 2015. 10 years ago this week, Apple declared the future of TV is apps. So they announced a totally redesigned Apple TV. It had improved navigation. You could talk to Siri to help you out. But the big change is that this new design was based on iOS 9. So it's based on how their mobile devices worked, and everything was apps. So the initial lineup of apps had obvious things: iTunes, Netflix, HBO, Showtime, sports, all those things you expect. But this also gave creators, rather than TV networks, more visibility. It launched with the YouTube app. It launched with Twitter's Periscope app that was live streaming from mobile that had launched earlier in 2015. And you could watch Twitch via AirPlay. So this was a new way of watching TV that kind of blended both traditional cable television things and mobile apps. So that's what Apple TV looked like. But of course, this all the things I've been talking about, these are larger trends. So in 2015, there was also a new version of Google's Chromecast. They launched Chromecast Audio. There was updates to Android TV in smart TVs. There were new versions of Roku and Fire TV. So this was a trend. And by 2015, people had largely shifted to using smartphones, mobile devices. So they were used to apps. I think that's part of what drove this. So here we are, it's 2025, and people are still subscribing to cable TV. Some people probably watch over the air TV if they have an antenna. And there's tons of popular streaming services now. So people are used to apps. And I really think this shift to watching TV through apps was a real benefit to YouTube. YouTube has been a big winner on TV. Its app is in all sorts of TV connected devices. Apple TV, Google TV, all these things have the YouTube app. YouTube is everywhere. They keep encouraging people to watch on the big screen, and now people are doing that. So maybe the future of TV is apps. So those are this week's updates. And I just want to say, I hope you have a fantastic week. I will see all of you next Sunday. Thank you for joining me today. Have a great rest of your weekend.